Hello again, I'm Dana and welcome back to another painting tutorial. So today we're painting a mermaid looking out at a beautiful sunset. Now I've always been a big fan of mermaids and really anything to do with mythology and fantasy. Growing up I loved The Little Mermaid, it was one of my favorite Disney movies. And right now, as of filming, it is technically still May, even though this video might go up after May. But during May, if you follow artists on social media, you might be aware that there is a drawing prompt called Mermaid. And so artists throughout the month of May will draw or paint a mermaid for every day of the month. So in celebration of Mermaid, here is a mermaid painting tutorial. I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, for this painting, you will need something to paint on, as always. So today I'm using a small canvas board. Of course, you're going to need some brushes. So I have a variety here. I probably won't use all of these. And just to let you guys know, these are all really cheap brushes. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy the most expensive brushes. Most of these were cheap ones from Michael's that I bought in a pack of like 20 for like $5. So, especially if you're first-time painters or you're new at painting, don't go out and buy the most expensive supplies. Just buy the cheapest stuff, and then if you decide this is something you really want to do, then maybe invest in some more expensive or more quality supplies. Disclaimer. Okay, so you also need, because we're using acrylic paints, water. So I have a small little jar of water. And I have paper towels, as always. And then of course we have our paint. So for the colors we're using today, it's going to be titanium white, phthalo blue, quinacridone magenta, I probably said that wrong, burnt umber, and cadmium yellow. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna start with our background. So we're gonna do a cloudy sky with some really pretty soft pastel colors. So I'm going to mix up my first color, and I'm gonna start with a baby blue color. Let's grab some white, and a bit of blue. Mix those together. I'm gonna put a teensy touch of yellow. So I want to have my horizon line maybe somewhere, I'll move these out of the way, somewhere around here. Start brushing in my sky color. Brush in some more white. For this first part, for the sky, we're going to be blending colors together. So you do want to work fairly quickly so your paint stays wet. Just brushing in more white to make streaky clouds. Now, I want the top of my sky to be a little darker, and I want it to start to have almost a violet tone. So I'm gonna mix some magenta, blue, and white. Now I'm gonna start putting this on the top of the sky. And then when it meets this more aqua blue, I want them to blend together. Okay, so for this sky, I want a sunset, so I want a lot of colors in there. So now we're gonna start adding some more variations of our colors. So a little bit more on the purple side, add a little bit more magenta. And I want to loosely brush this in so it looks like clouds. And I may occasionally go back and forth between some of my previous colors to help blend them a bit more. So now at the same time, I want to have similar colors in my water. So I'm going to start adding some of these blue colors to the water and create the horizon line. And you may be noticing that I'm not really putting a lot of paint over here. And that's because later on, when I let the blues dry, I'm gonna come back in with pinks and oranges and yellows, and I want those colors to be predominantly on this side. So I will put a little blue over there, but I don't really need to fill the canvas there with that. All right, so I'm gonna put darker colors down here towards the bottom. So here's the thing with doing water. If you want it to look like water, you wanna make sure that the colors aren't totally flat on there, that you let some streaking happen, and that will end up looking like ripples or waves in the water. So the way I do that is I just continuously add different variations of these same colors, getting like lighter and darker. And I loosely brush them in so that they're not completely blended, but they are softly blended, just enough to start to create the idea of some waves or ripples in the water. Now generally, in life, the horizon line and things that are farther in the distance are a little lighter. It's called atmospheric perspective, and so generally the things that are closer to us are bolder and brighter and darker in color, and as things fade into the distance, they are lighter and kind of fuzzier, and you don't really see them because they're out of focus. So as I'm adding these colors to the water, I want to make the back of the water seem farther away, so I will just gradually make it a little bit lighter. I don't want it to be super dramatic, but I do want that idea of that haziness and distance. And because I also still want to have the idea of texture in the water, I'm going to leave little streaks. Okay, so we're gonna add even more colors to this water as we continue, but for now, I think that's good. Okay, now that things have dried a little bit, we're gonna go back into the sky and start adding some more layers of clouds. So now we wanna add some warmer cloud colors to get our sunset. So we're gonna add pinker colors, warmer violet colors, and even some yellow colors. I'm actually going to start with the yellow colors because I want it to kind of be in the background. So I have an idea of some sunlight happening over here, and I'm gonna create a warmer yellowy color. And right in here, put some yellow. I'm adding a little bit of white to the yellow to soften the transition. And now I'm going to add a little bit of magenta to the yellow to make a soft orange color, and add a tiny bit of that. Now while I'm working with these colors, I can go ahead and add some of this color into the water as well so that we get the idea of reflections. Just put a little hint of it over here. We can add some more of this later because we are gonna add more colors to the water. Just a little bit of yellow in the water. So on this side I have a lot of blue. I'm going to add some more pinkish purple clouds. So the way I like to do clouds, especially soft fluffy clouds, is I'm going to put just a little bit, just kind of little bit of my cloud. Now you can actually do this a couple ways. You could just use a brush the whole time. A little bit of cloud here. Or you can use your finger, like I like to use my finger sometimes, just to soften the edges. Or you could even use like a damp paper towel. And I'm going to do a variety of clouds in these purple tones. And if you want your clouds to be really transparent, add a little extra water to your paint. And then you can make these clouds that are a little more see-through. I'm gonna add some clouds over here on this side as well. So one of the most important things to remember about clouds is that clouds can be any shape you want, so they don't have to be any particular shape. You can be very, very random with clouds. You can have little bits of clouds breaking off. You can have some that are bigger, some that are smaller, but you want to keep the shapes pretty random. So I've done quite a few of these purpley clouds, and now I want to make some really pink clouds. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm finished with the purple. I may go back and add more purple, but now I'm gonna make some brighter pink clouds. I'm gonna use the magenta, some yellow, and some white. So I'm gonna start adding some really bright pink clouds now. A good idea would be look up reference for your sky. So you can Google sunsets so you can get an idea of what kind of sky you want. Because your sunset could have more blues in it, maybe it could have more purples in it. This one has quite a lot of pinks. And there can be some of these sort of orange clouds right on top, overlapping the yellow there. And we can have a little bit of the yellow reflecting up in these clouds here. Just a little hint of that. This is looking quite pretty. Just going to brighten up some of the pinks in here just a little bit. I think we are just about done with the sky. So we've got a lot of nice colors happening in the sky. And now we need to repeat a lot of these colors down in the water. So once we've got the design for the clouds, a lot of these colors are going to be reflecting in the water because the water is very reflective. So we did get a base color for our water, but now we're going to go over that with some more layers with more of our colors from our sky. So I'll start with some pink colors. We have a lot of pink in the clouds, so we're gonna do some pinks in the water as well. So mix up another pink that's pretty close to what we have in the sky. We're gonna go through here, through the water, and as we were doing sort of a fluffy texture for the sky, we're changing up and we're gonna do these long streaks for the water. Again, we don't want the water to look flat, so we'll always add little lighter and darker variations to create little streaks in the water. Okay. Now we want to reflect some of the purples in the sky down in the water too. I'm going to make sort of a peachier pink, one that has a lot more yellow in it. And again, just continuing to add layers and blend. Then right here in the center, I'm gonna make some extra highlights with a really, really light blue, almost white. Use some of this back here. Just take a little bit of water on your brush and just blend out the edges so they come nice and soft. Okay. I'm going to go in with a smaller brush. I'm going to add a couple more of these little highlights, just kind of focusing them like little ripples in the water. All right, so for the last little thing I want to do for the background is just establish a little bit more of a horizon line. So I'm gonna do kind of a dark strip going across, and maybe this is the idea of some land really far in the distance. And I'm gonna do it with a purple color. So this could be a distant island, or it could be some land, or it could just be really low clouds, but just all along the horizon. So now we'll take another little break. We'll let this part dry and we'll start working on our mermaid next. So now that our background is dry, we're gonna do our mermaid. So really quickly, before we get into drawing the mermaid or painting the mermaid on the canvas, since I don't have time to go into a full figure drawing lesson for you guys, I have a little breakdown. So we're going to be creating our mermaid with simple shapes. So as long as you can draw a circle and an oval, we'll be creating our mermaid out of basic shapes, and then she'll be a silhouette, so you don't have to go into too great a detail on her figure. This will be the basic shape we'll be using for our mermaid. Go ahead and use a small brush like this, small little round brush, and I'm gonna mix some blue, some magenta, and a little bit of that burnt umber, so we get a nice dark color. So we want our mermaid to be maybe just off center here. So we're gonna draw her rock first, and then we'll draw her sitting on her rock. So we wanna decide how tall she is, and she's gonna be our main focus of the painting. So I'm going to say I want her head to probably be about right here. So you can mark this out for yourself, but I probably want her rock to be somewhere over here. So I'm just gonna sketch out a quick little rock shape for her to sit on. And it doesn't have to be anything too special, just a rock large enough for our mermaid. You can always adjust your rock shape. I switched to a little slightly larger brush to fill it in. So just go a little bigger to fill it in, just so it doesn't take so long. And remember, because this is a rock, you don't want your edges to be too smooth. And you don't want them to be too sharp to hurt your mermaid either, but so I have this little bit here, this little flatter, that's where my mermaid's gonna sit. Make it a little bigger. So I want my mermaid to be, I want her head to be about here. So we'll just start with a small circle. I'm going to draw a curved line for her spine. Once I have my little stick figure, I'm going to start filling it in so I get a better idea of how this is looking. And rounding out some of these shapes too. Okay, so you want to add her fin. Gonna have it kind of continue down here. And we'll imagine it goes in front of her rock. And then it's gonna reappear up here. With a nice little and a nice flowing line for it. And perhaps this fin is draping back down into the water. And maybe her other fin's kind of curling up a bit. And now let's give our mermaid some lovely flowing locks of hair. You can decide how long you want your mermaid's hair to be. All right, so we have our basic silhouette of our mermaid. So now we want to give our mermaid a little bit of detail, and we're going to add some highlights. And the highlights are going to do a couple things. Once it'll make her form pop out against the rock, and also we can sneak in a couple little colors to maybe give some indication of maybe a hair color or the color of her fins. That way you can customize your mermaid. So for my mermaid, I want to have a little bit of red in the hair, and this could either be the light from the warm sunset reflecting in her hair, or maybe she has red hair like, oh, I don't know, a famous mermaid we may all know. And maybe I want her to have some green fins. So now I'm going to take first some red. I'm just going to mix up a little bit of magenta and some orange to make a nice little red color. just a little hint of this. And just put a little bit, tiny little hint of red on her hair as a highlight. And I am going to focus my highlights over here where the light source is strongest. Again, this is pretty subtle. Next, I'm going to mix up a little bit of a green color, some yellow, and some blue. And because this is a fairly soft painting, I'm gonna add a little bit of white just to make a softer green so it's not too obnoxious. And then here on her fins, just give a little green highlight. Alright, and we'll just put the slightest hint of a skin tone on there since we have the red and the green. We'll just make kind of a fleshy color. Put a small hint of this, maybe on a shoulder. Okay. I'm going to go back and brighten that hair just a little bit more. Because red and yellow, or magenta, reds and yellow tend to be kind of transparent and a little bit brighter hair color. All right, and we just need to put a little bit of highlight on the rock, glinting for the rock since we have highlights on her, so it would only be natural for the rock. So we'll do just a lighter version of the rock color. I'm also going to go with a little bit more darker color and just with a second layer of this rock color, make a little bit more shadows just to give it a little more dimension. Maybe create a little bit of a shadow underneath her too. She's sitting on here. Okay, so something we can't forget is having a little bit of shadow or reflection in the water underneath the rock. So we can just make a darker water color and then just put that right under there. So remember our water was blue, but it has a little touch of purple to it. So make some of that. And just like little squigglies under the water. Remember our sun is over here, so our shadows are going to kind of cast back at an angle. So it'll be a little bit more on this side, but pretty much generally all along the back side of this rock. And use a little bit of that rock color so it's a little darker. Put a little bit more shadow in here, a little reflection. And then the very last thing I'll do is just the tiniest little bit of white. We're gonna do the Bob Ross thing where he puts the little white water line. Just a little bit. So we just want it to look like water. And just a couple little extra white highlights here and there to make things look shiny. All right, there's our mermaid sunset painting. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned a little something too. And if you did paint along with me, I would love to see your artwork, so please tag me in your social media so I can check it out. If you have any suggestions on what we should paint next, please leave them down in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all of your friends, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye! And she's sniffing her butt.